Speaker is Jermaine Martinez from Northern Arizona University, and the title of his talk is Partisan Dogmatism, Saliency and Effort in Assuming the Minimum. Great.
All right, so I told Corey I'm going to try to go as fast as I can because I want to try to get everything in as quickly as I can because I only have 15 minutes. So the core experience of disagreement. Let's talk about the core experience of what disagreement is. Derrida gives a really great description of something like that. A perfectly tuned conversation is a vision of sanity, a ratification of one's way of being human, one's place in the world. And nothing is more deeply disquieting than a conversation gone awry. To say something and see it taken to mean something else, to try to be helpful, and be called cold, try to establish a rhythm so that talk will glide effortlessly around the room, only to end up feeling like a conversational clod who can't pick up the beat. Such a failure at talk undermines one's sense of competence and of being a right sort of person. If it happens continually, it can undermine one's feelings of psychological well-being, and it gets me thinking of feelings of disconfirmation or feelings of confirmation, and certainly being that right sort of person, being a thou instead of an it in moments of disagreement. It seems as if it disagree with me. It's very strange. Where previously there was a connection, and in disagreement we're alone. We feel disconnected. There's an existential dread of loneliness there lurking somewhere in the background whenever we have a disagreement with someone. Unaware that they exist in a relationship and a kind of tension, the chicken is the egg's way of getting more eggs, the egg is the chicken's way of getting more chickens. The nature of the relationship provides para-rational or analogical information about how to process the rational digital verbal content. Might they each at some level then be wanting to avoid feeling alone? This brings in Korzybski. Korzybski talks about betweenness. He says it requires effort of attention. In a similar way, reading now, Korzybski observes that proper evaluation involves assuming the minimum. This minimum is not some kind of nothing definable in words or a metaphysical something. Rather, he writes that the minimum, as in mathematics, is more properly understood as an undefined betweenness or order. Moments of conflict between two or more viewpoints is both a moment of differentiation and an encounter with the fecund possibilities of betweenness, of relationality. Though in an antagonistic moment, our conflict is a kind of betweenness nonetheless. Right? Betweenness is the minimum. Despite there being an objective character to betweenness, our ability or willingness to maintain awareness of that contingent and process character of relationality, especially in moments of disagreement, is often impaired by a zealous aspiration for communicatively achieved global consensus to what are often group prejudices, right? So assuming the minimum and trying to remain focused on undefined betweenness requires some effort. Again, unaware that they exist in that dialectical tension or relationship, they are disconfirming the legitimacy of the other's view expressed as content, while also confirming the existence of a relationship that matters. So their focus is not on the concrete relational opportunity there, but on the abstract content of their arguments. It's an attunement to betweenness itself, its contours, its pushes and pulls, the ability to tarry in the noise of others that's seemingly absent from awareness. Perhaps due to this cultural blindness, given our normative way of thinking of communication as a simple transmission, that cultural blindness leads us to the question, should you connect with those who reject your reality? And that seems to be the question that seems to occupy some people today. So this is a content-based idea. People should agree with my content-based argument. This model forecloses consideration of the possibility that we can disagree and still kind of feel connected to someone. I mean, isn't it even possible? So maybe the question shouldn't be, can you connect with those who reject your reality, or should you, but can you connect with those who share your reality? Is that even possible? So we're here today to experience connection in spite of disagreement. Between this requires efforts of attention. Got me thinking of Daniel Kahneman's work in System 1, System 2 processing, and as well with Bateson's work in primary processing, secondary processing. I think these are very related to one another. In that primary mode of being in the world and engage with another in a conversation, the map and territory are oftentimes equated. It's in breakdown or misunderstanding, moments of disagreement where they tend to be discriminated, where there was once a we, there's now a you and a me, or an us and a them. What's interesting about the System 1 idea or the primary processing idea is it's always working, it's always on, and it's always moving. So when we see this optical illusion, or famous optical illusion here, we know that the lines are actually equal because we've played around with this and we've actually explored the territory. We actually had to go out and take some lines and look at the territory rather than going with our first primary or System 1 reaction. So what you end up with here is System 1, map and territory are equated until we bring a more effective map depending on your purpose. And our purpose here is just to see, are these lines indeed same size? But notice the work that we had to put in there. We had to actually put effort into paying attention to the right things. So maps that are already operative, that are System 1 maps, they're just kind of happening, and there's a lot less effort involved until there's some sort of struggle or some kind of disagreement. Suddenly we have to pay attention to the territory, and that's taxing. Secondary processing, that System 2 processing, is taxing of attention. It's hard work. See, look at that. In fact, Daniel Kahneman writes that the System 1 works pretty well. In most cases, it's generally very good at what it does. It models familiar situations, are accurate. Its short-term predictions are usually accurate as well. And it's important to note that System 1, again, like I said, cannot be turned off. If you're shown a word on the screen, language that you know, you will read it. Regardless, you will read it. So System 1 semantic reactions are salient. The System 1 saliency, the map that you have at the top of your list. Semantic reactions at the top of the list are semantic responses or signal reactions that you just can't unsee. You can't unsee them. They're there, and you may even recognize that they're there.
And there are a lot of wealthy, successful Americans who agree with me because they want to give something back. They know they didn't. If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
And there was his problem right there. That was one of his problems. You may remember this controversy slightly, the discussion that followed those comments there. You didn't build that problem. Well, Mitt Romney at the time seized upon those words and created this ad campaign in response.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
My father's hands didn't build this company. My hands didn't build this company. My son's hands aren't building this company. Did somebody else take out the loan on my father's house to finance the equipment? Did somebody else make payroll every week to figure out where it's coming from? President Obama, you're killing us out here. Through hard work and a little bit of luck, we built this business. Why are you demonizing us for it? We are the solution, not the problem. It's time we had somebody who believes in us. Someone who believes that achievement should be rewarded, not punished. We need somebody who believes in America.
Turned out that wasn't Mitt Romney. It turned out to be somebody else. Yeah. Obama's not wrong. It's just that System 1 is so intimate. It's so close. And it augments by our effort and our engagement with the territory that becomes a sense of certainty in what our maps are. At the lower levels, the more tangible, hard-lived effort, the more salient the personal grounds. The one who smelt it dealt it. Right? You can't deny that. The higher levels, the less we can rely on sort of the personal sphere data for confirmation or conversational grounds. The localized surround of the personal sphere includes those tension-filled what's going on and the heat of disagreement between two people. But we somehow are absent to that. So I have a question, right? The question is, can we, I think it's just Corey gave me the 5. Yeah. Can we connect with those who do not share our reality? When the objective between us is not made as conscious as the verbal content, then disagreement becomes about power rooting. I took that from Ernest Becker. And also Bruno Latour, he had a great piece on why his critique has run out of steam. We might imagine a socio-political talk that reflects an ethical attunement to matters of relation that naturally accompany socio-political disagreements, rather than only a narcissistic awareness of how our talk can be used for deliberate strategic positioning or matters of power. How would today's political climate be different? So can you do it? Let's see. You may be familiar with this ad. Went viral for a while. Just enjoy this. Okay, yeah. So I'm running out of time. Those feelings that you're feeling, that's the betweenness. If we could attune ourselves in moments of disagreement to others as though we were watching a moving, emotional show or story. What is it when someone's disagreeing with us? It's hot, it's dramatic, it is a story, but somehow we're so focused on the abstract winning of the argument or content, we're missing out on the relational. Perhaps that would add new grounds to our conversations, in particular our social political conversations as well. Thank you. 1 minute over.
Thank you very much for that, Jermaine. It's very moving.